Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to study session 3, where we'll be looking at definitions. Definitions. Now, defining terms is very important in philosophy because in philosophy, definition is considered as the arbiter of truth. In other words, definition leads you to the truth. This study session shall expose you to the concept of definition within philosophy. Definition is an important aspect in language because it fosters communication between speakers. Given that our ordinary language is not as precise and straightforward as we expect it to be, there is need for us to define the words we use in order to make communication meaningful and to avoid any misunderstanding. Thus, this study session shall cover the following: the meaning of definition, the purpose of definition, types of definition, methods of definition, and the rules of definition. So, I expect that at the end of this study session, you should be able to define the concept of definition, give at least three major purposes of definitions, identify at least five types of definitions, list at least five methods of definition, and outline at least six rules of definition. Now, we are looking at the meaning of definition. What do we mean when we talk about definition? Now, the term definition refers to the explanation of the meaning of a word. The explanation of the meaning of a word is referred to as definition. Thus, when we define a word, we are giving its meaning. Anytime we define a word, it is its meaning we are giving. Every definition has two main parts, namely the definiendum and the definiens. There are two parts of a definition of every definition. The first one is the definiendum, and then the second one is the definiens. Now, definiendum is a Latin word that means the word that is defined. Definiendum is a Latin word that means the word that is defined. Definiens, on the other hand, is a Latin word for the explanation of the word defined. So we have here the word that is defined is considered as a definiendum, and the explanation of the word defined is considered as the definition. That is, the meaning of the word is considered as a definition. So every definition follows a conventional pattern. This pattern may be one or the other of the following: X means Y, or Z means the same as Y. X means Y, or Z means the same as Y. That is the pattern of definitions. So the word to be defined, that is the definiendum, is customarily written on the left hand side, while the explanation of the meaning of the word defined, that is the definiens, is written on the right hand side. So we have made it clear that the definiendum is always written on the left hand side, while the definiens is always written on the right hand side. So for instance, if we define a square as a four-sided figure, from the example we have for a square being defined as a four-sided figure, we discover that square, which is the definiendum, and four-sided figure is the definiens. The definiendum is always the left hand side, and then the definiens by the right hand side. Take note of that. What are the purposes of definition? There are many reasons why we define words, and we define words for so many reasons. Number one, for effective interpersonal communication. Effective interpersonal communication. So words are defined to avoid vagueness or ambiguity of words used in ordinary language conversation. When you say there's ambiguity in the use of words, what you are trying to say is there's a way you use words that a particular word you use may have more than one meaning, so that the person you are conversing with or communicating with will get confused. So, but when you define the words you use within a context, the person listening to you will know the meaning that you are trying to pass across when you are communicating. So by defining words in daily communication, we ensure that the speakers have the same meanings in mind while using them. So definition helps to foster understanding and remove barriers to effective communication. The second purpose, vocabulary building. We build our vocabulary by adding new words to the words we use. Definition helps us to learn new words we encounter in daily conversations. By knowing the meaning of new words, we are expanding our vocabulary. The vocabulary has to do with the collection of words that you know. You understand? So once you find a word that you are not familiar with, certainly you try to find out the meaning of that word. And once you know the meaning of the words, whenever you are writing or you are communicating, whichever form, you are able to use a word very freely. So that is why we are saying that when we define words, it will help in building our vocabulary. You add more to the pack of words that you know. The third one is elimination of ambiguity of words with multiple meanings. There are many words that have more than one meaning. So when we use such words without defining them, they can pose confusion in our conversations with others. So in this case, our language becomes ambiguous because the meaning we have in mind may not be the same meaning those we are communicating with have in mind. Thus, we must define such words for clarity and to avoid any ambiguity. So, anytime you are communicating with somebody and you use any word that has multiple meanings, it is important that you make your listener understand the particular meaning you have in mind so that you can flow on the same line. The fourth purpose is theoretical explanation. This purpose of definition involves theoretical explanation. Sometimes we we define words in order to explain theories. So when a word is defined to explain a theory, it is used to characterize the object to which the particular term applies. This is common in the sciences. So in the sciences, if you have a particular word, you define it in relation to a particular theory so that those who are looking at that theory will understand that this is what is meant when this word is used in relation to theory, and it will help to explain the theory that is involved. And the fifth one is to influence people's attitude. The purpose of definition is to influence people's attitude. We define words too to influence other people's attitudes. Here, the attempt is to evoke certain behavioral characteristics from other people. The influence could be positive or negative. For instance, the way one defines a disease can deter people from contracting such a disease. If someone sits down here to define what HIV is, the definition of HIV alone, looking at the different aspects or the consequences that come with having that kind of disease, whoever listens to that kind of definition will certainly take caution and ensure that he or she does not contract that type of disease. So definition can change people's attitude. So the change or the influence can be positive or negative. There is a way you can define a term, something that people who do not even like it will even like it. And there's a way you can define something that people who like it may not even like it again. And that's what we mean when we say definition influences our behavior. So what are the types of definitions? There are different types of definitions. These definitions are categorized according to purposes to be achieved. So some of them we have stipulative or nominal definition, lexical or redefinition, precising definition, theoretical definition, abbreviative definition, and persuasive definition, among others. We say stipulative or nominal definition, lexical or real definition, precising definition, theoretical definition, abbreviative definition, and purposive definition, among others. So we'll begin with the first one, which is a stipulative or nominal definition. This type of definition assigns meanings to new words, new symbols, sorry. This type of definition assigns meanings to new symbols. It does not report how a word or words are being used by the speakers of the language. Rather, it is some kind of proposal to use a term in a certain way. In this way, stipulative definition introduces entirely new terms into a language. They also specify special or new meanings for old expressions. This is called reforming definitions. So stipulated definitions are essentially arbitrary and so are said to be more or less accurate. They are neither true nor false, nor limited by accuracy. This is why stipulated definitions are also called nominal definition, because there are resolutions to use words in a certain way. So you don't use words according to how the original speakers of the language use the words. You attach new meaning to the word. Now we have lexical definitions. Lexical definition, that's the second type. A lexical definition attempts to explain how a word is actually used by the speakers of the language. The first one, we say it doesn't use words according to how the original speakers of the language use words. But here, we are saying in lexical definition that it attempts to explain a word according to how the original speakers of the language use the word. In other words, it gives the meaning of a word in common use in the language. The meaning of a word in common use in the language. Typical examples of lexical definitions are provided by dictionary definitions. Dictionary definitions are examples of lexical definitions. So lexical definitions are essentially reports, and as such can fall short of accuracy. They can fall short of accuracy. It is in this respect that they are characterized as either true or false, correct or incorrect, depending on whether or not their claims correspond to any established usage. So lexical definitions can be true or false, correct or incorrect, depending on whether or not their claims correspond to any established usage. This is why lexical definitions are also called real definitions, because they proceed to give the meaning of a word by means of equivalent group of words, and the definition is an analysis of the idea. That is lexical definition. The third one is precising definition. Precising definitions result when we pick some conventional terms that are vague and give them a more exact meaning to serve some particular purpose. You pick conventional terms that are vague and give them a more exact meaning to serve some particular purpose. You are defining these words within a context to serve the purpose for which you are using those words in the context, or the terms in the context. So people resort to precising definitions when they find conventional meanings too vague. When something is vague, it means it's not clear. You understand? It is not exact. Sometimes it can put those who are using it to confusion, because it is open to different interpretation. So in the precising definition, you pick a specific meaning that you attach to that particular term or word, so that within the context in which it is used, those who are using it will know that this is what it means. And the problem of ambiguity is gone. The problem of confusion is gone. The problem of the meaning of the word not being clear is gone, because the meaning has already been decided. In this way, they borrow words with conventional meanings but make them more precise to serve a specific purpose. So, what are the essential features of a precising definition? Number one, such a definition applies to a word which does not have a clear-cut meaning in ordinary language. A word that does not have a clear-cut meaning in ordinary language will have to be given some sort of precising definition to avoid confusion. Number two, it must define the word in such a way as to eliminate the vagueness by fixing exact limits to the range of objects covered by the definient unit, covered by the term. Number three, precising definitions are not embarked upon for their own sake, but are required for special purpose. They are required for special purpose. Precising definitions can be divided into reportive and stipulative definitions. So there are two types of precising definitions: reportive and stipulative definitions. They are reportive to the extent that They appropriate something from conventional meaning and may either be true or false. When they appropriate something from conventional meaning and are considered as either true or false, we consider them as being reportive. Then they are stipulated to the extent that they clarify or go beyond conventional meaning. In this regard, they are said to be more or less useful. So stipulated to the extent that they clarify the confusion or they go beyond conventional meaning. And in doing that, you know that whoever is using that term is now aware of the meaning that is being attached to that particular term or word within the context that it is being used. The fourth type of definition is what we call theoretical definitions. Theoretical definitions not only explain the meaning of a word, but are also given for the purpose of reporting on certain matters of theory. They are related to theory. When you are trying to explain a theory, you have to provide theoretical definition. So, for example, the definition of logic as the science of the necessary laws of the understanding and reason generally goes beyond telling us what logic means, but derives its theoretic basis from the assumption that our understanding must operate according to fixed rules. Apart from giving us the meaning, it tells us that if we are within the realm of logic, we must operate within certain fixed rules. So the status of theoretical definition is usually that of a hypothesis. This means that they depend on some theoretical assumptions and are accordingly abandoned or revised when such assumptions are rejected or disproved. So there is no conclusive say regarding theoretical definitions. As time goes on, there may be need for the truth in the definition to either be rejected or disproved. So, for instance, from the beginning, a geocentric view of the universe was advanced, which considered the Earth as the center of the universe, while the Sun and other planets revolve around it. However, with the emergence of the heliocentric view, which considered the Sun as the center, while other planets revolve around, the former view, geocentric view, was rejected and abandoned. So that is it about theoretical definition. Remember, we said the assumptions at some point can rejected or disproved. This is a perfect example from the geocentric view of the Earth to the heliocentric view. Number 5. Abbreviative definitions. Abbreviative definitions substitute a shorter and more convenient expression for a larger, more complex or cumbersome one. Such definitions do not introduce new words, no. Abbreviative definitions do not introduce new words. Their purpose is not to increase our knowledge, is not to eliminate ambiguity or reduce vagueness. No. Rather, they are designed to supply shorthand economical symbols for longer ones. In this respect, they make thought more economical. That is it. For example, INSUK can be used to stand for Nasarawa State University Kefi. AU can be used for African Union. So INSUK now becomes abbreviative definition for Nasarawa State University, and then AU becomes abbreviative definition for African Union. The last but not least is the persuasive definition. Number 6. This type of definition is employed to change the attitude of one's listener. Yeah, we employ this type of definition to change the attitude of one listener. So those are the types of definition. Now we move to methods of definition. What are the methods of definition? There are many methods of definition. Number 1, definition by denotation or extension. The method of definition by denotation or extension. This method of definition does not explain the meaning of the term involved. Rather, it provides examples of the object or things to which that word can correctly be applied. Yes, it does not explain the meaning of the term employed. It provides examples of the object or things to which that word can be correctly applied. For example, you might define the term planet by indicating examples of planets. And what are the examples of planets? Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, as the case may be. So that type of definition is called definition, method of definition, sorry, is considered as definition by denotation or extension. There are three types of denotative definitions. One, enumerative, two, paradigmatic, and then three, ostensive. Three types of denotative definition: enumerative, paradigmatic, and ostensive definition. Now we'll move to the number two method of definition. The number two method of definition, we have connotative or intentional definition. The connotation of a word or intention of a word outlines the properties an item must have in order to be in the extension of the word. In other words, there are certain features that a particular item must have in order to be classified under as being part of that word. What this means is that the properties of the concept, word, or thing must be listed. This method of definition gives the meaning of a word by providing another word or phrase which means the same as the word being defined. For instance, a square is a four-sided figure. A bachelor is an unmarried man. Those are examples of connotative definition, because in the definition we see the features that the particular item must possess in order to be counted as being an extension of that particular word being defined. There is also what we call causal definition. Here a term is defined by giving the cause or causes of the category of items being defined. For example, the dictionary definition of typhoid as infectious disease which attacks the intestines caused by bacteria taken into the body with food or drink. That is an example of causal definition, because it gives you the cause of the particular the cause of that particular term that is being defined. Right? So we're talking about typhoid. In the definition of the typhoid, the definition tells you what causes typhoid. The fourth one is analogical definition. This results when a term's meaning is given by exposing the similarity and dissimilarity between it and some other term. So when you compare terms by giving the similarity and dissimilarities between that term and other ones, you are providing what we call analogical definition. The fifth one is the functional definition. Here, the meaning of a term is given in terms of the functions or purpose or end which it serves. For instance, a machine is an appliance or mechanical device with parts working together to apply power. That's the definition, functional definition of a machine. So you are given a definition based on the function or purpose or end that the particular term serves. Now, what are the rules of definition? There are certain rules that you must observe when you are defining words or concepts. The rules are as follows. Number one, the definition must state the essential attribute of the term being defined. In other words, the definition must be formulated in such a way that it brings out what is essential to the meaning of the term. So when you are defining a term, make sure that the essential attribute of the term that is being defined comes out very, very clearly. That is what we are trying to say. Number two, the definition must not be secular. You must not rigmarole when you are defining a term, going round, 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 round. The term being defined is used in the definition or its grammatical variant when it is considered as secular. Sometimes you are defining a word, that particular word you are defining, you still mention it as part of the meaning you are providing for the word. As you are being secular in your own definition of that particular term. Number three, a definition must neither be too narrow nor too broad. It must not apply to more things than intended, or it excludes certain things from the things it should correctly apply. So when you are defining a term, Make sure that the definition is not too broad so that it doesn't bring in elements that are not supposed to come in. And ensure that it is not too narrow so that the elements that are supposed to be part of the definition are not removed from it. That is what we mean by that. The fourth one is a definition must be clear. It must not be expressed in a language that is difficult or complex to understand. When you define a term, make sure that the definition is expressed in a language that is not difficult for people to understand. The definition must not be needlessly negative. The definition must not be needlessly negative. Here, a definition should not give the meaning of a word, but merely excluding it from the extension of the things does not apply without affirming the meaning of the word. For instance, you want to define a teacher. You say a teacher is not a farmer. A teacher is not this. That is defining a teacher negatively. Go straight to what the teacher actually means by affirming the meaning of the teacher. That's what we mean when we say the definition must not be needlessly negative. The last but not least, a definition must be evaluatively neutral whenever possible. In other words, sentiment should not be brought into the definition of a word, either by adding to it or removing from it. We have to be conscious of that. Do not allow your sentiments to be cloud you whenever it comes to defining terms. Maybe as a man, you may want to define a term in a way that will be favorable to men at the expense of women. You are not being neutral in the definition you are providing. That's what we will say. It has to be evaluatively neutral whenever possible. Thank you very much for your attention. But we have discovered that in this study session, definition refers to the meaning of a word. It is divided into two parts, definiendum and definiens. And we know that the definiendum is the word that is being defined, and then the definiens, the meaning, the explanation of the meaning of the word being defined. There are many purposes of definition. There are 6 types of definitions: superlative, lexical, precising, theoretical, abbreviative, and persuasive. The methods of definition are 5 in number: denotative, connotative, causal, analogical, and functional. And there are still rules guiding definition. Thank you very much for your attention.